watchers, it's 57 out. And for those of you that use Celsius or centigrade, that's about 14 degrees. So yeah, I know for some people you will be very confused as to why I'm wearing a beanie. Other people, maybe it's understandable. But to me, this is cold. Where I live, this is frigid. Really speaking, it's just, I could wear a thicker jacket, but the beanie is nice, and I bike around, so when I pick up speed, it's nicer to have a little bit extra protection on my ears. Otherwise, I get home and I'm very, frosty. So yeah, moving on from all that, let's jump right into the final standings of the first ever NBA in-season tournament. The games concluded on Tuesday night, and they had quite a wild finish to finalize the standings. So you had in first West Group A. Just as a reminder, there were 3 groups in each, the West and the East, and 4 teams in total from East and West will be advancing. The winner of each group plus a 4th wildcard team. So in West Group A, we had the Los Angeles Lakers finishing at the top of the group with a final score of 4-0, 4 wins, 0 losses, and they had a point differential of plus 74. Then second place in Group A was the Phoenix Suns with a final record of 3-1 and a point differential of positive 34. Then the Jazz finished in third place in West Group A with a final record of 2-2 and a point differential of negative 13. Then the Trailblazers finished fourth in this group with a record of 1-3 and a final point differential of negative 39. And lastly, the Grizzlies finished in fifth place in this group with a final record of 0-4 and a final point differential of negative 56. So moving on to West Group B, you had the New Orleans Pelicans finishing in first place in this group. They finished with a record of 3-1, and they had a point differential at the end of positive 33. Then you had the Rockets finishing second in this group with a record of 2-2 and a point differential of positive 10. Then the Mavericks finished also at 2-2, which was good for third place in this group, and they had a point differential of negative 8. Then the Nuggets finished in fourth place in this group, kind of surprising, and they also finished 2-2, and they had a point differential of negative 10. And lastly, the Los Angeles Clippers finished fifth in this division, in this group, with a final record of 1-3 and a final point differential of negative 25. And moving into our last West group, we had West Group C. The winner of this group was the Sacramento Kings. They went 4-0 in this group play stage with a final point differential of 30. Then the Timberwolves came in second in this group with a final record of 3-1, and they had a ending point differential of 0, which is quite impressive. Then the Golden State Warriors came in the third position of this group with a final record of 2-2, and they finished with a point differential of positive 4. Then you have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who finished in fourth place. They had a record of 1-3, yet their point differential is positive 24. Crazy stuff. Their win was very big and their losses were small. And then lastly, you have the San Antonio Spurs finishing in last place in West Group C with a record of 0-4 and a final point differential of negative 58. So now that we have taken care of that, let's move on to the Eastern Conference. So in East Group A, we had 5 teams. The team that finished at the top of East Group A was the Indiana Pacers. They finished with a final record of 4-0, and they had a positive point differential of 39 points. Then the Cleveland Cavaliers finished second in this group with a final record of 3-1, and they had goes to the Atlanta Hawks, who finished with a final record of 1-3, and they had a point differential of negative 32 points. And lastly, you have the Detroit Pistons, who lost all 4 games. They went 0-4, and they finished with a point differential of negative 45. Moving on to East Group B, you had the Milwaukee Bucks finishing with a record of 4-0, so advancing from East Group B, and they had a positive 46 as their point differential. After that, you have the New York Knicks, who finished with a record of 3-1 and had positive 42 points in their point differential. Then there was the Miami Heat finishing in third for this group. They finished with a record of 2-2 and had a point differential of positive 4. Coming in fourth place for East Group B was the Charlotte Hornets. They finished with a record of 1-3 and had a point differential of negative 54 points. And lastly, you have the Washington Wizards coming in fifth place in this group with a final record of 0-4 and a point differential of negative 38. So now we move into our very last group. This is East Group C. So winning East Group C were the Boston Celtics. They finished with a record of 3-1, and they had a positive 27 point differential. Coming in not too far behind them were the Orlando Magic. They also finished with a record of 3-1, and they had a positive point differential of 22 points. So only 5-point difference there. And another 3-1 team coming in third in East Group C was the Brooklyn Nets. They finished with a record of 3-1, and they had a point differential of 20. So as you can see, East Group C was actually very tight. It was just a 7-point difference between the first and third place. Then you have the Toronto Raptors coming in fourth place with a final record of 1-3 and a point differential of negative 21. And lastly, you have the Chicago Bulls coming in fifth place in East Group C. They finished with a final record of 0-4, and their point differential was negative 48. So that concludes the group stage of the NBA in-season tournament. Taking a look at the point differentials, we can see that the best team in the group stage was the Los Angeles Lakers. They finished 4-0, and they had a positive 74 point differential. That is actually the most by far, I believe. And yeah, now taking a look at the worst team in the group stage, and that would have to be the San Antonio Spurs. Yeah, they barely edge out the Grizzlies to take the cake as the worst team. They lost all 4 of their games, and they had a negative point differential of negative 58 points. The Grizzlies clocked in at negative 56, and the Hornets clocked in at negative 54, even though they managed to win a game, which is kind of funny. So, yeah, there you have it. That is the group stage. So, now, you might be wondering, what does it look like for the knockout stage? So, as I mentioned before, the winner of each group gets to advance into the, playoffs, basically, and along with the best wildcard spot. So, of the 3 groups in each conference, the team that had the best record plus the best point differential gets to go in as a wildcard seed. So, for the West, you had the Lakers finishing at the number 1 spot, the Kings finishing at the number 2 spot, and the Pelicans finishing at the number 3 spot. These are the 3 winners of their individual groups. And then after that, it was a race to figure out who is the best remaining seed. So taking a look at the point differentials and records, you'll find that the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Phoenix Suns are the other 2 teams with the best record. So they're tied in terms of record, but the Suns had a point differential of plus 34, and the Timberwolves had a point differential of 0. So for that reason, Phoenix Suns advance as the 4 seed. And so okay, and then we'll do the East. So, in the Eastern Conference, the Pacers, the Bucks, they finish as the 1 seed because they had a 4-0 record and they had the best point differential at plus 46. The Pacers are the 2nd seed. They had a 4-0 record but a point differential of plus 39. Then the winner of Group C would be the Boston Celtics. They had a record of 3-1 and then a point differential of plus 27. Then there's actually quite a... Excuse me for a moment. Okay, sorry about that. Then there's quite a bit of contention for this last spot. You have the Cleveland Cavaliers, the New York Knicks, the Orlando Magic, and the Brooklyn Nets all sitting at a record of 3-1. So how do you figure out who is advancing? Well, you take a look at the point differential, and this one came quite close. You have the Magic with plus 22, the Nets with plus 20, the Cavs with plus 29, and the Knicks with plus 42. So I guess 3 teams were very close, but the Knicks were definitively ahead. So the Knicks advance as the 4 seed for the East. And so, taking a look at our knockout stage games, on Monday, December 4th at 4:30 p.m., we will have a matchup between the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers. Then, on Tuesday, December 5th at 4:30 p.m. And then Monday, December 4th at 7 p.m., we'll have a West game. It'll be the Pelicans facing off against the Kings. Then on Tuesday, December 5th at 4:30 p.m. Oh my goodness, I can't speak today. I can't read. At 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, December 5th, you have the Knicks and Bucks squaring off. And on that same day at 7 p.m., you have the Phoenix Suns squaring off against the Los Angeles Lakers. So, knowing the lineups the way we do now, I have created a mini bracket to display who I think will win the first ever NBA Cup. So I'll go through it very briefly since it's such a small bracket. So in the Western Conference, I have the Kings defeating the Pelicans, and I have the Suns defeating the Lakers. So that creates a semifinal matchup. Yeah, a semifinal matchup between the Kings and the Suns. And in that game, I think that the Suns will advance. So I have the Suns representing the West in the in-season tournament finals. Then for the Eastern Conference, I have the Celtics defeating the Pacers to advance to the semifinals, and I have the Bucks defeating the Knicks to advance to the semifinals. Then we will have another great matchup between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. This was a very close game that was played rather recently, and there's extra stakes just because of the trade that happened over this past NBA offseason. But I do think that the Bucks will get the best of the Celtics this time, and the Bucks will move on to the finals to represent the Eastern Conference. And so I think that the NBA in-season tournament finals will be a repeat of the finals from a couple years ago. You'll have Devin Booker squaring off against Giannis once again, and I think that the Bucks will win it again in this matchup. So I have the Milwaukee Bucks winning the first ever NBA Cup, based on the group play stage so far. I think Dame is doing pretty well in those MVP rankings. So yeah, I guess just for the sake of it, I feel like it could be Giannis or Dame going off against these teams. I do think it will have to be Dame that leads them up ahead. And I think that would be kind of like a Cinderella story. They get him in the offseason, they win the first ever cup. He wins the MVP. He already has the Mickey Mouse MVP. He may as well throw this one in his gallery. So yeah, I think that the Milwaukee Bucks will win the NBA in-season tournament, and that free to like, comment, or subscribe if you enjoy content like this. I mostly create NFL ASMR, but I have been dabbling in the NBA ASMR field, just because NBA is picking up. This is a new thing to analyze and talk about in midseason. I am significantly less interested in regular season than playoffs for basketball, just because the playoffs are so long. It's nice to watch. It's not like I'm gonna miss it. It's not a one-game series. It's 7 games, and there's so many rounds. So I tune in more during the playoffs, and so yeah, there'll be a much bigger focus on basketball-related things in the coming April and things like that. I must add, just because I am a Warriors fan, and Warriors fans are annoying about their basketball opinions. That game against the Kings, holy moly! I'm not gonna say that the officiating was one-sided, but I think the officiating was very poor. I was watching this game, and there were 100 free throws shot in this game, 52 fouls or something like that. It's quite unwatchable. The Warriors went up 24 in this game. They lost CP3 and they lost Gary Payton. They choked the lead. They really got no consistency going in the second half. They got up to a big lead right before halftime. They did decently well in the third quarter, but then it started to slip away from them. I don't know why they subbed out Moses Moody when he was doing so well in the fourth. He was the leading scorer. He had 11 of the 19 Warriors points by the end of it. He had made another 3 that was called back due to some weird review on a flop by this European guy on the Kings. I don't know. It was a lot of questionable decisions, and at the very end of it, I was already deflated because the Warriors, throughout most of the game, they were in the position to actually advance into, win their bracket, win their group, and go into the in-season tournament. But then, just because of the way the game happened to pan out, they lost that. They needed to win by 12 points, and they were up by 12 for most of the game. But then in the final 5 minutes, the game was tied, and it was okay. And then they happened to lose it in